They have taught you since birth to look outward, to seek approval, to depend on systems, to wait for permission. Whether it's your family, your school, your job, your society, or the stars themselves, they all whisper the same lie, that the power lies somewhere out there. But I tell you now, nothing outside of you determines your fate. Nothing. Not one condition, not one person, not one event has the power to shape your destiny, unless you first give it permission within. If you wish to change your world, you must begin where all change begins, in imagination. The world you see is not the cause, but the effect. It is a reflection, a mirror held up to the state of consciousness you occupy. And a mirror cannot show you anything except what you are already assuming to be true. So many plead with the universe to give them a sign, to move something outside, to shift their circumstances so they can finally feel better. But that is not how the law works. That is not how creation operates. The outer is always a servant of the inner. The world is clay in the hands of your belief. It moves when you move, not physically, but spiritually, inwardly through awareness. You may look at your bank account and say, I am poor. You may see your body and say, I am sick. You may glance at your life and say, I am unloved. But you are not seeing facts. You are seeing reflections. You are not bound by what is. You are only bound by what you accept as true. This is not denial of reality. This is acknowledgement of a deeper truth, that reality itself is molded by your state of being. You are not here to passively receive life. You are here to direct it, to shape it, to become conscious of what you are imagining, feeling, and assuming, because that is the root of everything that follows. To say nothing outside you determines your fate is to reclaim the throne of your own mind. It is to stop bowing to appearances and start choosing your inner conversations with care. What are you telling yourself when you're alone? What stories are you rehearsing? What identities are you wearing in the quiet of your imagination? These are not idle thoughts, they are seeds, and every seed bears fruit in its own season. Do not be fooled by delay. Just because something hasn't yet appeared in form does not mean it isn't already moving. The law is not marked. Your inner world, persisted in, must become the outer. It is not optional. It is not selective. It is not sometimes. It is always. Even when you say, I knew that wouldn't work, and you feel confirmed in your failure, the law is still operating perfectly. It gave you what you truly assumed. You thought it was doubt, but it was actually faith in the wrong outcome. It was unwavering belief in the unwanted, and the universe, impartial and exact, reflected it. To trust in the unseen, to walk by inner vision instead of sight, is the greatest discipline a person can develop. It requires courage, not the kind that faces danger in the world, but the kind that stands firm in imagination when all the senses scream otherwise. When the world says no, you must learn to say yes within and mean it. It is not enough to repeat affirmations or to think positively for a moment. The law does not respond to words alone. It responds to the feeling behind the words. You must feel yourself into the state desired. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and then live from that place, quietly, faithfully, persistently. When you do this, life will begin to rearrange itself around your inner conviction. People will show up, opportunities will unfold, conditions will change. But none of that is your work. Your work is within. You are the cause. All else is effect. There is no need to manipulate others, to hustle endlessly, to push and force. All that effort is often a reflection of inner doubt. When you know something is done, you do not chase it. You prepare for it. You become it, and in becoming it must come to you by law. So I ask you, what are you allowing to define your fate? a diagnosis, a bank balance, a rejection, a mistake from your past, a label someone gave you. These are paper tigers. They have no power except the power you give them. You are greater than any circumstance because you are the one who gives it meaning. You are not the echo, you are the voice. You are not the shadow, you are the light. You are not a passive creation of environment. You are the environment's creator, the dreamer of the dream. Once you realize this, life becomes a sacred art. Every moment becomes a canvas on which you paint with feeling, belief, and intention. Every assumption becomes a brushstroke, every inner word a thread in the tapestry of tomorrow. Do not wait for the world to change. Do not wait for a perfect moment to feel different. Feel it now, assume it now, trust it now. Because now is the only moment that holds the power to shape the next. You are not subject to the stars. You are not a victim of fate. You are not tracked by your past or doomed by your upbringing. You are the operant power, and your fate bends to the direction of your inner gaze. Turn within, trust the unseen, and dare to believe that your assumption, held with faith, is greater than anything the world can throw at you. For the world is not the master, it is the mirror, and you are the image it reflects. There is a moment in every person's life where the choice must be made, whether to live by what is seen or to trust what is unseen. That moment is quiet. It comes without announcement. It does not shout, and it rarely gives warning. But in that still moment, when reason may resist and senses may rebel, if one dares to trust in what is not yet visible, something remarkable begins. A shift takes place, not in the world at first, but within the one who dares. And it is this shift that bends the world in response. The world responds not to effort alone, not to action in the physical sense, but to the vibration of belief. True belief, not mere positive thoughts, not empty repetition, but deep, unwavering, silent confidence in something the eyes have not yet seen. That is the power that reshapes circumstances and reorganizes reality. It is not force, it is not demand, it is trust. But what is trust? Trust is not blind ignorance, nor is it foolish hope. Trust is alignment with a higher law, the law that all things must take the form of their conception. When you trust the unseen, you are not ignoring the present. You are planting a seed in a soil deeper than this world can reach. You are saying to the invisible, I know you before you are born. And in that knowledge, you make yourself the mother of the form yet to come. The world of form is always late. It lags behind the creative act, and the creative act is always invisible. It happens in silence. It happens in imagination. It happens when the individual steps into the assumption of their desire and claims it as already true. This is trust, to walk as though the thing has already happened, even when there is no proof, to speak as though it were finished, to feel inwardly the joy of possession, even when the outer world has not yet caught up. You cannot half trust and receive. You cannot doubt with one hand and expect with the other. The universe does not respond to mixed signals. It mirrors conviction. And conviction must be full. A mind divided cannot produce unity in life. But the moment one dares to drop the weight of how and simply lives in the assumption that what is desired is already done, that moment becomes the turning point. The imagination is not a place of fantasy. It is the very workshop of creation. Everything you now see, touch, and experience once lived in someone's unseen world, their thoughts, their dreams, their belief. And so it continues. The invisible precedes the visible, always. And trust is the bridge. To live in trust is to live above appearances. It is to refuse to let outer facts dictate inner truth. It is to walk by the quiet knowing that the world outside is clay, shaped not by pressure from the hands, but by direction from the mind and heart. And this shaping force, this divine power, flows through the feeling of certainty. You will notice that when you begin to trust, even slightly, the weight begins to lift. There is a release, a lightness, even if nothing has changed yet. That is not coincidence, that is alignment. The pressure lifts because the resistance is dropped. And in the absence of resistance, the path clears. Things begin to move. But many do not hold trust long enough. They plant the seed and dig it up the next day. They look for signs too soon. They speak of nothing working before anything had time to take root. Trust requires persistence without strain. It is not clenched, it is calm. It is a calm assurance that what has been accepted inwardly must appear outwardly. By law, you have trusted things before. You have trusted the chair would hold your weight without thinking. You have trusted your breath to come without forcing. So it is not that trust is foreign to you. It is simply that you have learned to place trust in systems, people, and outcomes, but not in your own power to direct the unseen. Begin again now, not by force, but by quiet confidence. Choose one desire, just one, and instead of wondering how it will come, enter into the state of it being already yours. See it in your mind, yes, but more than that, feel it. Feel the relief of it, the joy of it, the normalcy of it, and then go on with your day as one who has received. The universe does not respond to panic. It does not answer to begging. It responds to the one who moves in the spirit of completion, the one who no longer needs signs because they know the seed is already planted and that the harvest will come. That kind of trust makes you magnetic. It aligns the invisible pieces. It draws to you what effort could not. You will find that things begin to unfold, not always as you expected, but always as you require. The doors open, the calls come, the coincidences multiply, the path reveals itself, but not before the step of faith. The universe bends not to the one who waits, but to the one who walks, already aligned with the unseen fulfillment. There is nothing too great for trust to move. There is nothing too small for it to touch. You are not separate from the power that shapes galaxies. It lives in you as your awareness, your imagination, your ability to feel a thing real before it becomes visible. That is the point of creation. That is the birthplace of miracles. Trust is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is the highest use of will to choose your inner state regardless of outer appearance, and once chosen, to persist without complaint, without doubt, without fear, to live, breathe, and move as though the unseen were more real than what is seen. Because it is. When you do this, life will respond, not as a reward, but as a reflection. The universe is not distant. It is immediate. And the moment you truly trust, it bows in harmony with your assumption. Truly, you may speak the words 1,000 times, write them across your mirror, repeat them before sleep and again upon waking, but unless your inner state is changed, the words will fall to the ground void of power. This is the great error of those who live by surface and sound alone. They believe the universe is listening to their voice, to their language, to their carefully crafted sentences. But the truth is more subtle, more intimate, more powerful. The universe responds not to your words, but to your state of being. Your state is not your mood. It is not your fleeting thought. It is not the words you say when you are trying to impress yourself or others. Your state is your dwelling place, the emotional atmosphere you live in most of the time. It is the tone behind your silence. It is what you feel when no one is watching and nothing is demanded of you. That is what speaks. That is what is heard. That is what creates. You may declare wealth from your mouth, but if your state is lack, if you feel poor, expect struggle, fear bills, and doubt provision, then the vibration you are sending forth is lack, and lack will return to you in form again and again, regardless of your words. The state of poverty will override the sentence of abundance every time. Why? Because the law does not respond to performance. It responds to alignment. You are not punished for false words, nor rewarded for correct phrases. The universe is not a judge. It is a mirror. It reflects back to you the state you occupy, not occasionally, but constantly, not by chance, but by certainty. The world you experience today is the echo of the state you hold yesterday, and so tomorrow bends according to the state you hold today. You might say, but I've been affirming every day that I am healthy and still feel the same pain. Yet the words "I am healthy" mean nothing if beneath them you fear disease, if you secretly dread symptoms, if you identify as fragile or broken. That contradiction reveals the split between the word and the state. The body cannot be fooled by speech, but it will absolutely be transformed by belief, and belief lives in the state. To live in a new state is to feel it as true now, not later, not when the facts confirm it, not after the proof appears. Now. The state does not wait for evidence, it generates it. The moment you feel yourself to be something different, truly feel it, not pretend, not hope, but feel it. The seed has been sown, and though the world may not shift instantly, it must shift inevitably. This is why those who speak with calm conviction often have what others strive and beg for. Their words are few, but their states are strong. They are not trying to convince life to give them something. They have already accepted its reality inwardly, and life is simply arranging itself to reflect that decision. You are always being heard, not through your mouth, but through your being. Every moment you are emitting a signal, not in sound, but in feeling. And the feeling you most consistently live in is the command you send out to be fulfilled. Feelings are not emotional reactions alone. They are creative instructions sent to the very heart of life itself. The mistake many make is trying to fix the world without changing their state. They work harder, speak louder, demand more, pray longer. But if they remain in the state of being unworthy, unloved, or unsafe, then the world must reflect that inner position, not because life is cruel, but because life is lawful. So how do you shift the state? You begin with awareness. Observe yourself, not with judgment, but with clarity. What are you assuming when you're not watching yourself? What do you expect before outcomes appear? What inner conversations do you return to when you are tired, alone, or unsure? These are the indicators of your state. These are the messages that are creating your reality. Once you see the pattern, you do not fight it, you transcend it. You introduce a new feeling, you imagine a new outcome, you construct in consciousness a scene that implies your desire has already been fulfilled. Then you enter that scene not as a viewer but as a participant. You feel the reality of it, you surrender to its truth, and in that surrender you change states. And when the state changes, everything changes. Not always overnight, not always in the way you expect, but change comes quietly, subtly, lawfully. What once seemed out of reach begins to come naturally. The struggle begins to dissolve. People shift. Circumstances bend. Paths appear where there once were none, not because the world has changed, but because your place within it has changed. You are not here to master words. You are here to master states. To speak only what you feel is true, to act from the knowing of your assumption, to walk not by the eyes in your head, but by the vision in your soul. That is the way. Do not let your speech become decoration. Let it be expression. Let your words rise from a place of being, not effort. Then and only then will they carry power. Then and only then will they be heard by the silent forces that shape the outer world. The universe hears you. Not your performance, not your pretending, but the tone of your being. And it replies, faithfully, endlessly, to that. To hope for something is to admit you do not yet have it. To wish for a thing is to place it at a distance, outside the reach of now. These attitudes, though sincere, contain within them a quiet confession of lack. They may be wrapped in desire, they may even wear the mask of faith, but beneath them lies a subtle denial of possession. And it is not desire alone that creates, it is the assumption that the desire is already fulfilled. This is the key. Until you take your attention away from hoping and move fully into being, the thing you seek remains apart from you. You do not become wealthy by wishing for wealth. You become wealthy by assuming the identity of one who already is. You do not become loved by yearning to be loved. You become loved by living from the felt experience of already being cherished. The law of consciousness is impersonal. It does not respond to desperation or longing. It responds to identity. What you are conscious of being, you become. What you are conscious of having, you attract. You must stop standing at the gate and knocking. You must walk in and sit down. You must live there. Everything begins with the state you occupy. A state is not just a thought or a passing mood. It is a settled feeling, a deep knowing. It is the place within that you return to again and again, whether in silence or in speech, whether in motion or at rest. And it is this inner place, this invisible dwelling, that produces every visible event in your life. When you occupy the state of the one who already has, your world begins to rearrange itself in ways the rational mind cannot predict. People come into your life with offers, with answers, with openings. Circumstances align as if pulled by unseen strings. It may appear to others as chance, as coincidence, as fortune, but it is none of these. It is law. It is the natural outpicturing of the state you have claimed. The question is not whether your desire is possible. The question is, are you willing to live as though it were already so? Can you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled without needing confirmation from the outer world? Can you carry that inner knowing quietly, gently, faithfully, even when nothing seems to be changing? That is the test. And it is not a test of effort. It is a test of identity. Most are waiting for a sign to feel the change. They say, when I see it, then I will believe it. But life does not operate in that order. The seen comes after the unseen. The fruit follows the seed, and the seed is always sown in feeling. If you want the world to reflect a new image, you must first paint that image inwardly, with feelings so vivid that you lose awareness of the old condition. You must dwell in the new reality before it takes form. This is not fantasy. This is not delusion. This is creation. This is the very process by which all things are made manifest. Look around. Every object, every relationship, every opportunity you now experience is the result of a state once occupied, perhaps unconsciously, perhaps without intention, but occupied nonetheless. And if it was assumed once, it can be reassumed. If it was created once, it can be transformed. To occupy the state of the one who already has is to give up striving. It is to stop asking and start accepting. It is to move in the world not as one who is seeking, but as one who is living the fulfillment now. That fulfillment becomes the foundation of your speech, the energy of your walk, the posture of your mind. You may still take action, but your actions are no longer attempts to get. They are expressions of already being. There is a quiet power in those who have assumed. You can feel it. They do not rush. They do not explain. They do not plead. Their movement is effortless. Their tone is calm, and their lives reflect the condition they have already accepted. It is not arrogance. It is not denial. It is ownership of a higher reality that precedes the visible one. They are not waiting for the world to change. They are being the change, and the world follows. This way of life requires discipline, not of the body, but of the imagination. The mind must be trained to return again and again to the state desired. Distractions will come, contradictions will appear, old beliefs will whisper, this is not real. But you must persist. You must feel the truth of your new state so completely that the old one dissolves. You do not force the outcome, you do not dictate the path, you simply dwell in the state and let life respond. It will, and often in ways you could never predict. Do not confuse the method with the cause. It is not the person, the opportunity, or the event that fulfills the desire, it is the state. The person is drawn because of the state. The opportunity appears because of the state. The event unfolds because of the state. This is why it is said, seek not things, but seek the kingdom, the inner state, and all these things shall be added. Your outer world is not your supply. It is not your source. It is your echo. And if you will change the tone within, the echo must change. So the invitation is simple. Stop wishing and start being. Let go of the question, when will it come? And instead ask, what would it feel like if it were already here? Answer that question with your entire being. Live that answer, and life will deliver the form that matches it. You were not born to struggle after life. You were not placed here to hunt your dreams through endless effort and exhaustion. The moment you begin to chase, you confess with your whole being that what you seek is not already yours. And in that confession, no matter how silent or sincere, you push the thing further away. You do not chase what you are. You attract what you are aligned with. And alignment is not a doing, it is a being, a becoming, a quiet inner knowing that needs no outward proof before it feels the fulfillment. To chase is to live in separation. It is to believe there is a distance between you and what you desire. It is to imagine a future moment where things will finally be better, instead of claiming the present as the doorway to the fulfillment itself. The outer world, which appears so solid and objective, is nothing more than a reflection of your inner stance. Not what you want, not what you say, but what you embody. Many people run through life as though chasing smoke, reaching for love, money, health, recognition, all as if these things are held in some far-off land, guarded by fate or fortune. But the truth is this: you are never chasing the thing itself. You are chasing a feeling that you believe the thing will bring. And yet that very feeling can be summoned now, without condition, without delay. That is alignment. To call forth within the emotional signature of your desire and wear it as your natural garment, even in the absence of evidence. There is a difference between action and alignment. Action without alignment is work. It is resistance, it is effort from the outside in. But action that proceeds from alignment is different. It is inspired, joyful, and effortless. It is movement that flows from fullness, not from lack. And the only way to reach this state is not by forcing things into place, but by surrendering fully to the feeling of the wish. Feeling is not weakness. It is power. It is the language of creation. It is the medium through which thought becomes form. When you feel something real, deeply and consistently, you condition the subconscious to accept it, and what the subconscious accepts, the outer world must reflect. There is no exception to this law. The world does not argue with your feelings. It does not weigh the morality of your dreams, nor the likelihood. It only knows how to echo your conviction. Alignment is not achieved through struggle. It is not earned by pleasing others or ticking off checklists of success. It is reached in silence, in stillness, in the unseen chamber of the imagination, where you close your eyes and feel into the life you wish to live, not from a place of lack, but from the richness of already having it, not from absence, but from possession. You dwell there until it begins to feel normal, until it becomes natural, until it is no longer a dream, but simply your reality. Those who live in alignment do not rush. They do not hustle for what they already own within. They move through life with quiet confidence. They do not speak often of what they desire because they already feel it. And what is felt so deeply does not need to be defended. It does not need to be explained. It only needs to be occupied. And the one who occupies the feeling of alignment will watch as life bends to match that inner posture. The world is always moving in harmony with your dominant state. You cannot fake your state with surface words. You cannot hide it with appearance. It is known in silence. It is declared in what you accept as true when no one is looking. When you align with a new state, when you claim it, dwell in it, and feel it real, then you initiate the unfolding of conditions that match it. Events will shift, conversations will change, new faces will appear, old patterns will dissolve, not because you forced the change, but because you became the one who no longer needed to. To live in alignment is to live without strain. It is not passivity, it is power without tension. It is creation without friction. You do not chase love when you're aligned with the state of being loved. You do not pursue money when you dwell in the feeling of abundance. You do not beg for health when you occupy the knowing of wholeness. These things are drawn to you because they are the natural mirrors of who you are now being. You are not meant to run toward the things you want. You are meant to become them in consciousness, and the world will return that image to you. This is not theory, this is not spiritual comfort, this is law. Silent, exact, and unfailing. And the one who dares to feel their assumption fully, deeply, and without contradiction will watch as reality molds itself in agreement. You're always aligning with something. Whether by default or design, you are always embodying a state. So the question is not if you are aligned, but with what? Are you aligned with lack, with fear, with waiting? Or are you aligned with fulfillment, ease, and certainty? The answer is not found in what you say, but in how you feel most of the time, in the assumptions that run beneath your surface thoughts, in the inner tone of your life. The beautiful truth is that nothing is outside your reach when you stop chasing and start aligning. The moment you assume the feeling of already having, already being, already living in the fulfillment of your desire, you shift the axis of your world. You step out of the current of effort and into the flow of inevitability. And in that current, all that corresponds to your state rushes to meet you, not because you begged for it, not because you earned it, but because you finally recognized that it was already yours. Some look at others and call them fortunate. They say, he always gets what he wants, or things just seem to fall into place for her. They label it as luck, as though the universe arbitrarily selects a few to bless while ignoring the rest. But nothing could be further from the truth. What appears to be luck is law, and those who receive so-called miracles are not favored, they are aligned. They have trusted the unseen longer than most are willing to. They have remained faithful to what they could not yet touch, and life rewarded their steadiness with form. The great mistake is believing that success, love, healing, abundance, or freedom are randomly distributed. They are not. They are the visible results of invisible causes, and those causes begin in the imagination, are nurtured by feeling, and are made firm through assumption. It is not that the fortunate ones worked harder or were born into better conditions. Many of them began in lack, in pain, in rejection. But instead of accepting those outer conditions as final, they withdrew into the unseen and claimed a new identity. They dared to remain loyal to a vision that only they could see. The masses admire the fruit but ignore the root. They see the harvest and assume it came without planting, without watering, without unseen work. But every manifestation is preceded by a season of inner faith, a time when nothing visible supports the belief, and yet the belief is kept alive. That time is the true cause of the effect. That quiet period of persistence, where imagination is treated as reality and feeling is honored over fact, that is the real work. And that is what separates those who live by design from those who live by default. It is not difficult to hold a vision when things are going well. It is easy to believe in abundance when your pockets are full. It is simple to feel loved when affection surrounds you. But that is not trust. That is reaction. The ones who are deliberate do not wait for the world to show them what is true. They decide what is true and persist in that decision until the world reflects it. They do not use appearances as confirmation. They use imagination as creation. And they do not abandon their vision when the world denies it. They strengthen it. There is a quiet, steady energy in the one who has trusted the unseen. They do not beg. They do not rush. They do not speak of time as an enemy. They have no need to prove or persuade, because they have already accepted their desire as done. They may walk among others unnoticed for a time, but the work they are doing is within, and that work never returns void. Though the world may not see the seed, the tree will come, and when it does, others will call it luck, never realizing that it was law all along. Trusting the unseen is not passive. It is the most creative act a person can perform. It means disciplining the mind to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, to feel the reality of what is not yet visible, and to reject the temptation to collapse under contradiction. It is choosing again and again to live from the end, not from the middle. It is refusing to allow delay to be interpreted as denial. The vision may be invisible to others, but it must be felt as already real by you. That is trust. And trust, sustained over time, becomes form. When you see someone whose life seems touched by ease, whose relationships are harmonious, whose work flourishes, whose body radiates health, you are witnessing the outpicturing of an inner alignment. You are seeing the results of invisible choices. You are seeing what happens when a person dwells in a state long enough for the world to conform to it. That state may have been assumed months or years before any evidence showed, but evidence always comes. It must. There is no such thing as an idle assumption. Every assumption is a command. And when a person assumes something long enough and deeply enough, the world has no choice but to mirror it. Those who are labeled lucky have simply assumed their wish and persisted in that feeling despite contradiction, despite delay, despite appearances. They trusted the unseen not just once, but as a way of life. And the beautiful truth is that anyone can do this. Anyone can choose their state. Anyone can persist in a vision. It requires no special talent, no perfect conditions, no permission. All it takes is the willingness to believe that imagination is the womb of reality, and that what is felt inwardly will one day be experienced outwardly. The only price is consistency, to return to your inner knowing again and again, especially when nothing outside seems to support it. The world belongs to those who persist inwardly. The outer conditions are always temporary, always shifting, always responding to something deeper. And the deeper cause is consciousness. The fortunate ones have learned to hold their attention, to direct their inner conversations, to refuse fear and choose faith. They have learned that the unseen is not empty, it is rich, full, and alive with possibilities waiting to be shaped by assumption. So the next time you see someone succeeding where others fail, do not call it luck. Do not believe they were chosen by some external force. Instead, realize that they chose themselves, inwardly, long before anything changed outwardly. They saw themselves as successful before the world did. They felt the love before it arrived. They embodied the healing before the symptoms vanished. They believed the thing was already theirs, and they held that belief until life made it visible. That is not luck. That is law. That is what trust, practiced and persisted in, becomes. There comes a moment when you are no longer moved by the world around you, not because you have given up on life, but because you have come to understand what governs it. You begin to see clearly that what appears in your outer environment is not the cause of your experience, but the result of it. It is a mirror, nothing more. And mirrors have no power of their own. They reflect only what stands before them. Most live in reaction. They see something they dislike and respond with fear or resistance. They see something they desire and react with longing or chasing. In either case, they are responding to a shadow, an echo of a state once held within. And yet they believe the echo is the source. So they push and pull against what has already been created. In doing so, they remain bound to the very condition they wish to escape. But when one awakens to the truth that consciousness is the only reality, and that all things seen are first imagined, then a shift begins. No longer is the outer world something to fight or fix. No longer is experience something to plead for. The work moves inward. The attention is no longer scattered across circumstances. It is gathered, refined, and focused within. This inner turning is the beginning of true creation. The realization that what you consistently assume to be true inwardly will eventually harden into fact outwardly is the key to mastery. You stop asking, when will it come? Because you have already received it in consciousness. You stop needing signs because you know that the outer must follow the inner. And in that knowing, the waiting ends. Even if time still separates the vision from its appearance, the need to react falls away. You see a delay and do not panic. You see contradiction and do not retreat. You see evidence of the old and do not abandon the new. Why? Because you know. You have assumed the state, you have accepted the end, and all that happens now, no matter how it appears, is simply the unfolding of what is already done in the unseen. It is easy to get caught in appearances. The senses are loud, they demand attention, they offer proof of failure, of lack, of rejection. But these proofs are only projections. They are the slow residue of past beliefs. They carry no authority unless you assign it. And once you withdraw belief from them, once you stop reacting and start creating inwardly, they begin to lose their grip. The old world begins to dissolve. This is not about pretending. It is not about denying what is seen. It is about recognizing that what is seen is temporary, a moving picture shaped by states of consciousness. To create from within is to acknowledge that all change begins in feeling. It is not words that move reality, but felt conviction. You must feel your new state is real. You must dwell in it, breathe in it, walk in it, in imagination, until it becomes your natural home. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are not hoping for a break. You are assuming your desire as a present reality. You are mentally and emotionally occupying the end result and trusting that the outer world is adjusting itself accordingly. And because of this, you are no longer concerned with time. You are no longer disturbed by what you see. You are no longer anxious about how it will come. These questions no longer arise in the one who knows it is done. You are not acting out of desperation. You are not checking for signs every hour. You are not rehearsing the past. Instead, you are quietly and faithfully preparing for the life you have already claimed. You carry yourself differently. You speak with clarity. You rest even in motion, and others may not understand why you seem so calm, so certain. But it is because they do not see what you see. You are living from the unseen, not toward it. This is the great reversal. Most people live from effect to cause. They believe something must happen first in the outer world for them to change how they feel. They wait for the condition to shift before they shift their mood. But the one who creates from within understands that the mood precedes the condition. The inner change comes first, and the world is forced to follow. It is no longer a question of effort, but alignment. No longer a matter of doing more, but of being more still. When you assume a state and persist in it, you become unshakable. Not because you are rigid, but because you are rooted in the unseen truth. You are no longer dependent on external circumstances to verify what you already know. And this knowing is not loud. It is quiet, certain, and enduring. It does not demand, it does not fear. It simply is. And when you live from this place, the place of knowing rather than hoping, then all things that correspond to your assumption begin to flow into your experience naturally. This is how change comes, not with struggle, but with surrender, not by forcing the outer to shift, but by inwardly selecting and remaining in the new state until it becomes your dominant vibration. And the more you do this, the more you realize that your entire world has always been an extension of your self-concept, your assumptions about who you are and what is yours to experience. There is no need to react anymore. There is no power in reaction. The power has always been in creation, and creation begins within. The mind, in its outer orientation, often fears the unseen. It labels what it cannot grasp as uncertain, unpredictable, or chaotic. It wants control, evidence, steps, guarantees. But reality does not spring from the seen to the unseen. It flows from the unseen into the seen. The visible world is not the source of your experience. It is the end result, a copy, a reflection. And what it reflects is not random. There is law, order, and precision behind every movement in the outer world. That law is consciousness, and its guiding principle is assumption. To the casual eye, life may look like chance. One person succeeds, another fails. One receives love, another lives in loneliness. One heals while another suffers. But behind each visible outcome lies an invisible cause, and that cause is always internal, always psychological. What a person accepts as true about themselves and their world becomes the seed of every unfolding event. The unseen is not disordered, it is governed. And the instrument of that governance is assumption. Your assumption is not merely a thought, it is a creative act. When you assume something to be true, not lightly, but with feeling and persistence, you are issuing a command to the unseen. You are instructing the field of possibility to arrange itself according to your inner claim. Whether that claim is conscious or unconscious, loving or fearful, uplifting or limiting, it will be honored. The unseen does not discriminate in what it brings forth. It simply mirrors. You may not see the connection immediately. You may think things are just happening to you. But if you examine your dominant assumptions, what you consistently believe about yourself, your worth, your place in the world, you will see the pattern. The world around you is shaped by the instructions you give it, through what you expect as normal. What you expect, you create, not because of magic, but because assumption is the law behind the force. The unseen is not blind energy, it is responsive intelligence. It is alive, aware, listening, not to your words, but to your state of being. When you hold an assumption with conviction, you impress that state upon the deeper mind, and that deeper mind responds by producing the exact circumstances, relationships, and events that reflect it. The world bends to match your concept of self, and this is true whether your assumption was chosen consciously or accepted without resistance. This is why transformation begins within. To try and change the outer world without addressing the assumption behind it is like trying to fix a reflection without touching the face. It will not work. The world is not broken, it is obedient. It follows the design etched into your consciousness. To trust the unseen is not to abandon logic, it is to go deeper than logic, into the level of cause. It is to know that there is an organizing principle beneath all appearance. What you assume about life, about others, about yourself, these are the blueprints. You live according to your inner architecture. The moment you revise that structure, the outer must realign. But many do not trust this process. They fear the unseen because they cannot measure it. They look for signs too soon. They speak of the delay as if it were failure. They plant the seed of a new assumption but dig it up to see if it's growing. Yet law does not hurry. It does not rush to soothe impatience. It acts precisely in rhythm with the vibration you maintain. If you persist in a new assumption, the result must come. It cannot fail. The only uncertainty lies in your ability to sustain it. So the true work is inner steadiness. To hold the assumption, even when the world offers contradiction. To continue in the feeling of already having, even when there is no visible evidence. To move through your day not in search of proof, but in quiet confidence that the law is already at work. Invisible, yes, but deeply ordered and exact. You need not see the entire path. You only need to assume the end and live in the feeling of its reality. The unseen will handle the means. It will bring into your experience the ideas, people, and events required to fulfill the instruction you have given it. But that instruction is not a wish, it is not a plea, it is a decision, calm, confident, repeated until it becomes natural. The unseen is not chaos, it is perfect law. When you understand this, you no longer plead with life, you command it. Not through force, but through inner alignment. The energy that shapes worlds does not respond to begging, it responds to identity, to being, to assumption. And when that assumption is maintained, the outer world becomes its servant. This does not require effort in the traditional sense. You are not trying to convince the unseen. You are not persuading it with repetition. You are impressing it with feeling, with acceptance, with the quiet sense of, this is who I am now. The moment that new identity becomes your dwelling place, the world must change its reflection. It has no choice. Nothing stands between you and your desire but your assumption. You are not waiting for the unseen to decide when to bless you. You are deciding the terms of your own experience every time you imagine, believe, and feel a thing to be true. The unseen is waiting for your instruction, and your assumption is the only language it understands. There is no confusion in the unseen. There is only response. Trust it. Use it. Align with it. Because it is not some distant mystery, it is the very substance of reality, ordered and obedient to the direction of your inner world. The journey has led us inward, past the noise of circumstance, to the seat of creative power itself. You have heard that nothing outside you can decree your destiny, that the unseen obeys the quiet instructions of your assumption. You have seen how trust, sustained beyond the reach of the senses, reshapes the very fabric of events. How states of being speak with more authority than 1,000 words. How alignment replaces restless pursuit. And how so-called luck is merely loyalty to an inner vision held long enough to bloom. In each keynote, one truth is echoed: consciousness is law. The world is clay, impressed and animated by feelings deliberately chosen and persistently inhabited. To live from the end is to step out of time's waiting room and into the immediate reality of fulfillment. To refuse reaction and create from within is to move from questioning to knowing. To regard the unseen not as chaos but as perfect order is to stand on bedrock while appearances shift like mist. Therefore, let the old habits of striving fall away. Assume the identity that already possesses what you desire. Feel it, dwell in it, rest in it. Persist when appearances contradict, for contradiction is only the last residue of prior belief. Hold the new state unmoved, and the outer world must conform. It has no choice, for it is your obedient shadow. Carry this understanding into every moment. Let every inner conversation, every silent mood, every imagined scene affirm who you choose to be. Do this, and life will bow to your direction, not by favor, but by immutable principle. The law awaits your next assumption. Give it one worthy of the life you are ready to live.